Hey everybody, Jim here, and I haven't done a video like this in quite some time, but I'm planning on doing some more, and I'm sure that you clicked on this seeing the thumbnail or title, and yes, indeed, there is a rumor out there that Dennis Camp will be writing a Batman book. What that would be, and even if it's true, we'll have to see. And this video isn't going to be me yelling about, oh my God, Dennis Camp, Batman, whatnot. Again, it's just a rumor. It may or may not happen. What this video is about is wondering what people would think of this and if they would enjoy it. And also, what type of Batman book would you want or expect Dennis Camp to write? And so Dennis Camp is a writer, very polarizing, but even if you don't like Dennis Camp, I think that you'd be remiss if you didn't admit that he's become bigger and bigger. Again, there's a weird kind of play with Dennis Camp, though, that you either love him or hate him, it seems. There's not a lot of in between. I'm kind of on the latter. I do not like him as a writer, but that's just me. If you do like him, that's you. And I did say at one point, he reminds me a bit of Tom King, and not just him. It's more of the fandom. It becomes this fight. If you end up saying, hey, I don't really like Dennis Camp, you get a brawl. There is a brouhaha that ends up breaking out between a bunch of people in that. And I don't want that to happen here on the video, though I do expect it to happen anyway, because that's what goes on. But again, I don't really like Dennis Camp's writing. I find it surface level deep. The idea that it's not as deep as I think some people say it is. And a lot of times what happens, in my opinion, is when something's written that you can't understand, you'll just go with that idea, oh, it's deep. And then that becomes the attack on people who don't like it. Oh, you don't like it? You just don't get it. I'm reading comics at a higher level than you. I think that's all nonsense. Again, if you're going to argue, or I don't want to argue, but if you want to convince me to like Dennis Camp, or at least just tell me why you like him, just give me your reasons. Just give me reasons of why you like his writing. And then if I agree, disagree, it doesn't have to be an argument. It's a discussion. And hopefully that's what happens. But back to the whole deal. Dennis Camp is rumored to be on a Batman book coming in May. That's what my source told me, because I'm fancy like that. It's still just a rumor, but I could see it happening. It won't be the main Batman book, but I could see him as high up as going and taking over Detective Comics from Tom Taylor. Right now, Tom Taylor, I feel like that Detective Comics book, and Tom Taylor in general, is kind of like pushed aside. You don't hear much about him anymore. There's not much hype, but not much of the hate either. It's just kind of in the mid-level deal. And this Detective Comics run, while some parts are good, it's kind of forgettable. And I say it on our podcast each time that we review Detective Comics. I almost always forget the last issue. And that happens a lot. If you're reviewing a bunch of comics, some things get jumbled in your mind. But when you're reading something really good, you don't completely forget what is going on. And that happens to be the case when I do end up reading Detective Comics and the Lion and Courage and all that nonsense in that book. I just feel that it needs something. DC has been known at times to get people to write books, not because they're good at it, but because it would cause some hype. Negative, positive, they don't care. Any news is good news. I'm looking at Tom King on Wonder Woman. But all of this, what type of book would you want if Dennis Camp? Indeed, and I think that for me, not enjoying Dennis Camp much, I think that Elseworld stuff would be better. I think that non-continuity stuff would be better. The guy is a little wacky. I mean, in the books that he writes right now, Absolute Martian Manhunter is the one that I'm currently still reading and reviewing, even though it's just on our Patreon, because it got wacky. But in the meantime, I feel like that book is 98% art, 1% deep, and I'm putting air quotes, writing, and 1% just, hype, reader hype. I'm not really into it. But again, it's another universe, it's an Elseworld. But when I do think about it and go with this idea, that is a book that's so odd and so out there that I don't know how it envelopes into the other books if they do an Absolute Justice League. All the other ones would fit for me. But that book, I don't know. I don't see how you end up enveloping it in, besides then making it more kind of quote unquote mainstream. I don't think it works the way that it is in its regular run. He also does the assorted crisis events. I tried to read the first issue. It wasn't for me. And he also does the Ultimate stuff at Marvel and is indeed finishing up the Ultimates line. The Ultimates book I read to about issue 8. And again, I just wasn't into it. He focuses on things that I don't really like in comics. And again, he gets political. He has some cultural stuff. And I know the argument is, well, there's always been politics in comics. Well, that doesn't mean that I personally have to like it. Also, I do want to point out, that is not a be-all, end-all of a good book. Just saying there's always been politics in comics doesn't mean it's always been good. A story's a story. It doesn't matter politics or not. It still has to be good. And I find his stuff a little too heavy-handed for me. I don't really need my mind to be blown. I don't need to get a thesis on cultural, political stuff. I see that stuff in my regular day, walk-a-day life, and I read comics to escape it. But again, that's not everybody's MO. It's kind of mine. So with that, though, I do think, again, that he would be better off writing an Elseworlds book. I'm kind of being a little selfish here because on our DC podcast, we don't necessarily have to talk about all of the Elseworlds stuff, so I probably wouldn't. So there you go. But I would check out the first issue. And again, when people let me know if they like Dennis Camp or not, or if they want him on Batman or not, please, we don't know if he would do well on Batman. You can assume all you want. You know what that does. But I'm one of the guys, I really want to push the idea that at least give everything at least one issue. I know some people don't want to even give that. I like to give things 3 issues before I kind of decide if I'm going to stay on or jump off of a book. And why I always do say this, and I'll bring up examples, is that you end up having writers that sometimes it's that one book, that one character that they're able to write. And in that, there's the big phrase in comics. There's no bad characters, just bad writers. But I'll go the opposite, or kind of, and say that there's always, the bad writers can always write one good book. More even, but one book that they actually nail and get the character. And I'll bring up a recent writer who I did not like, fresh off of that awful Punisher book in the Marvel Universe. And then, and it's David Pepose, goes and does Space Ghost. And I remember when it was announced, I'm like, yeah, that's going to stink. And I fell into that trap. It didn't stink. In fact, people listening right now, there's going to be a bunch of people, it's probably their favorite book. Doesn't mean that I like his other stuff, but that's the one book. So it's a tough time in comics. I'm having problems finding anything to like, not even just the idea of a full pull list or a full podcast, especially at Marvel. So I want to have books, and boy, that would be a surprise. Maybe he ends up doing Detective Comics, and it's that thing that hits. I don't know. Again, I'll have to hear what everybody says, but again, back to the deal. This has been a lot of yakety yak around the subject, but again, the rumor is Dennis Camp will be on a Batman book. I'd love to hear if you're for that, against it, why you would be for or against it, and what kind of book that you would like. So with all of that, thanks for watching. And if you did enjoy the video, which I'm planning on doing more, please, if you aren't subscribed, subscribe, like the video, notifications, all that stuff. But also please look at the description, where there are a ton of links to everything Weird Science, especially the DC Comics podcast. Again, we have this podcast. We've been doing it for 11 years. We've never missed 1 week. We have a show each and every week now for 11 years. I don't see that ending anytime soon. So please check that out, and I will talk to you all later.
You are all weirdos.
Weird science is the revolution. Weird science is the revolution.